Man, I feel bad I didn't know.
Larry Fitzgerald, the great Michael Wilbon, my good friend with PTI, obviously ESPN all these years, Washington Post, Chicago, Northwestern high school. I never found out what high school you went to, Mike.
St. Ignatius. I would have gone to Calumet had I just gone to the public high school that I was assigned to, Larry. I would have gone to Calumet.
Okay.
But my mother said, no, that's not happening. Here's what you're going to do.
Finger High School guy, you know me, 112th and Wallace.
I know.
So it worked out pretty good for both of us. But Mike, I just enjoy your work, your personality, you're driven. Well, what makes Michael Wilbon go?
Larry, that's a good question. I probably shouldn't ask myself that now at this stage after 38 years. I think it's just still the love of storytelling, and it's evolved. All these new things, and you're doing all these things too, all these different platforms and things that we did not start off aspiring to. That's not what we did. It's not what we did at 18 to 22 years old. But I'm learning how to do that, to navigate those things, and it's still the love of storytelling, telling the story of the day, whatever that is. And today I'm going to get into this whole thing with LeBron James and somebody telling him to shut up and dribble, and which is patently offensive and insulting. And so whether the stories are purely sports or the lighter side, purely sports, the lighter side, like watching a certain Larry Fitzgerald Jr. go out and win at Pebble Beach, or hard stuff that's difficult to jump into, but we do anyway. I think, as I think about this really for the first time that you've asked, I think it's just the love of diving into all that material every day and trying to make sense of it.
Having the platform that you have, do you get a sense of responsibility and having to do more and recognizing and making some of the athletes aware of the social responsibilities that they carry?
You know what? In part, I think it's making everybody aware of the social responsibilities. Because I think sometimes the pendulum might have swung too far, and it might be too heavily weighing in on what their responsibilities are when all of us have those responsibilities. I mean, I certainly, you and I have dealt with this over decades in terms of our own responsibilities. And it's funny, somebody just talked about this. I'm not sure it was Draymond Green, but somebody was just talking about the word obligation and whether or not it's an obligation or just something you want to dive into. And I think that was an interesting sort of conversation they were having. I was listening in on it. And I just think none of us are as aware, should I use the word woke, as we should be. And I think that's part of the process. And that storytelling is examining it and finding new stories myself that may, inspire me to be more aware.
The juice you carry in covering events like the NBA All-Star Weekend, Game, Super Bowls, talk about how you go into that knowing what your job responsibilities are, but yet trying to get the top story, and that's what our goal is, right?
It is. And so there's a juggling act that goes on. The bigger the event, right, the more balls that are in the air. And I still try to be true to my work and my employer. As you mentioned, first the Washington Post and then ESPN, and there was a time there where it was overlapping. I did both those things for 9 years. But I think that's it. I take the work seriously still, and because I feel fortunate to be able to do that. And I think that we cheat the listener, the viewer, the reader if I don't come in here and now in my case it's not telling stories every day in the same way, but I want to be ready for April for the playoffs to be able to put in perspective things, and I can't do that unless I listen in to some conversations. They don't have to be one-on-one. Sometimes group conversations are better. But listen in to LeBron James, listen in to Kevin Durant, listen in to Damian Lillard, listen in to whether it's the most popular guy or the least known guy. Obviously, everybody's popular here at the All-Star Weekend. But I think that's what locker rooms are still for, and I take that responsibility pretty seriously still.
Thanks, and so much the incredible chemistry between you and Tony. Talk about that.
Larry, it's a long time. I mean, we've known each other for 38 years. And so a lot of that was done, that byplay was started in the newspaper. And Tony would do it, really. He would refer to me. And somebody said they wanted to put it on television one day, and we were like, what? What are you talking about? And so people now think they can just pair people, right? And they're going to have chemistry. No. It's 30-some years of that. And So, and PT has a relationship show as much as anything else. I mean, sports is grounded in sports, but it's not as much a sports show as other things. It is about two people being able to do what everybody does that with somebody, right? Whether it's with a family member, your child, your parent, your boy, your frat brother, your roommate, your cousin. We all have that sort of byplay with somebody. And Tony and I, have had it with each other. And we're not the only ones. There's other people he watches sports with, other people I watch sports with. My brother teases Tony all the time that he was my first host. He's 2 years younger and he's a banker.
Okay.
So, but it doesn't matter. It's the relationship that forms when people have those things in common and a passion for it.
Michael, thank you. Chicago is proud of you, buddy.
Larry, I appreciate you saying that, of a native son as well. I appreciate you saying that and having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Come on, brother. Anytime, man. I
Bless
appreciate that. Listen, I'm glad to hear you're doing well.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't know, but I'm glad I know.
I'm going to be in that foursome.
Listen, that's the only way it should go down.
Okay.
We'll get that text chance over there. Starting next week. We'll figure out.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right.